On a wage rise has come for the minimum wage, a bump up of 3.75%. The Fair Work Commission saying it was not beyond that because productivity is low. Joining us live now, Chief Investment Officer at the Motley, Scott Phillips. Scott, so business wanted 2%, unions wanted 5%, just about in the middle. Is that fair?
Yeah, Pete, good morning. It's the old pantomime, isn't it? He's behind you, they all yell, well, they all argue. One starts really high, one starts really low. They end up in the middle. Both pretend they're unhappy about it, both happy they got what they wanted, or didn't get, the other team didn't get what they wanted, maybe is more to the point. Look, you're right. 3.75 is a reasonably modest number, relatively the same as annual inflation. And we know, of course, that the RBA is very concerned about wages continuing to be a pressure on prices. So they probably wouldn't love this, but are probably glad it's not higher than that. For those workers who get the money, I mean, frankly, if you're on minimum wage, you are at least able to deal with inflation. There's nothing else to cut back. So these people probably do need the money. There is, though, the risk that it does become inflation in two ways. Firstly, it simply adds more demand to the given level of supply. Whatever your views about whether it was deserved or not, the 3.75%, it must add to excess demand. And secondly, it may become, and this is what the RBA is most worried about, a pattern bargaining of sorts. When enterprise bargaining agreements are done, when individual contract negotiations are done, the first thing the person's going to do is point to the minimum wage and say, well, I should get at least that, maybe more. And that's what starts that kind of snowball rolling. So not a huge issue in and of itself. It will be inflation. It must add to inflationary pressures, but it's the flow-on effect the RBA is most concerned about, the economy is most concerned about.
Well, let's identify that because, for those who aren't aware of how these things work, you've got to pay more for wages. That means the cost of the products go up, therefore being inflationary, right?
Correct. And then, by the way, when the cost of products go up, someone else wants a higher wage because the cost of their products went up, and they're saying, well, I'm not keeping up with the cost of living, so I need more money. This is literally the price and wages spiral that people are concerned about. It's not inevitable, and it doesn't need to be, we don't need to make it a horrible burger monster that otherwise it might be made by some, but it's just real. My costs are your prices, therefore my prices become your costs. And around we go. That's exactly why the RBA has been so keen. Frankly, they're too late and too timid, but it's why they've been so keen to make sure they're putting pressure on that to stop that transmission mechanism happening. That's precisely why they want us to stop spending, so the prices will come down to lure us back to the shops. If that does happen, that puts a lid on inflation. Yeah,
and look, productivity's been flat for a long time, though. It goes beyond this government, but this government had recently said that, there has been improvements in productivity. So does the FWC now kind of slap that down?
Yeah, and I think realistically there are no meaningful improvements in productivity. It's a very, very, very difficult. Look, it's difficult to measure in the first instance. Economists kind of use it as the kind of adjusting factor at the end where you account for everything else. What changes must be productivity. It's very, very hard to measure otherwise. But it's been lagging for probably 20 years. I think it's probably, honestly, the Howard years and the Hawke years before that, since we last had a serious policy discussion in Canberra between a government of the day and an opposition of the day around things to do with productivity, genuine industry ministers or people in Treasury who were really keen to get this fixed. In the meantime, we've gone for sound bites. Unless and until, but this isn't just a government role. It's my role, it's your role, it's our company's roles to do that as well. But that's the only way living standards improve. Otherwise, we're just shuffling pieces across the chessboard. If we all want to get better off, we all need to improve productivity.
Yeah, that's true.